So cool.
Look what I have. I have a Krispy Kreme mini.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Enjoy it for me. I've been your Tubby comment a couple episodes ago really got to me, and I've been really trying to lose some weight. In about the last 3 weeks, I've lost about 20 pounds. So,
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. So,
I haven't.
Tubby that. I'm just kidding. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Odd Testament podcast. My name is Ryan.
My name's Eric.
My name is Greg Wallace.
Greg Wallace.
For the podcast listeners, that wasn't just dramatic pausing. That was he was lifting up a custom water bottle.
Is that how we know like we're getting older, when we like take pride in things that have our name on it?
Oh, I thought you were going to say the only way to find our stuff is when you have to find
it. No, because I'm the same way.
Okay.
If it's got my name etched on it, I'm like, victory, right?
Yeah,
I feel
totally
cool. So this is the place where we dive into weird, strange, curious stories from the Bible. And whether you're here for a fresh perspective on scripture, or maybe you're exploring faith, or you're here for a laugh, like, you're in the right place. Guys, how you doing?
Doing good. Keeping busy. Is we just kind of passed that Easter season, so I am excited for a chill summer. I got some trips coming up and cool stuff going on for the church. So yeah, I am ready to slow down post holidays and all that craziness.
Awesome. You going to Tahiti this summer?
In my mind, yes. I will be in Kentucky, but I will mentally be in Tahiti.
Not quite Tahiti. Disappointed. Greg, how you doing?
You know, life's hard, Ryan. I'm doing good. My excitement is it's always raining here during this time of year, and potential tornadoes and things like that. And so I mowed my yard on Tuesday night, which my body is quite angry about, but I feel like I won because it was not supposed to be a nice day. It turned out it was, and I was able to get it done. So I no longer have basically a farm field of, huge tall grass. And I just have, so I feel like I won.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that is about the most interesting story I have right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I've gone from jumping out of airplanes to, I mowed this week.
In such a short period of time too.
Yeah.
Not over 30 plus years. So
yeah.
Ryan, something crazy that's happened recently was I bought a car last year, a 2022 car, and like had a few little problems with it, but we just didn't have the finances to cover it. Finally, got that tax return and was like, okay, gonna start checking some things off. Took my car in, and my mechanic, Adam Loftus, shout out DIY Garage in Bellevue and Millard. And can we clip that and then see if I get some
no
bonuses?
Free shout outs, Eric. No free shout outs.
And today's podcast is brought to you by
I'm gonna bleep that out, by the way.
But it turned out like I needed a new air compressor, so I went in and got that. I was like, a little more than what I wanted. As he starts working on that, he starts like sending me pictures of, oh my gosh, I think this car was in a car wreck, and the dealership you got this from didn't do their inspection correctly. Basically, your car is totaled because the engine block is not just cracked, pieces are snapped off, and then whoever Jimmy rigged it back together So all that to say is the next like 3 days, and this was Easter weekend, was me like trying to figure out what do I do next, talking to a dealership, going back and forth between mechanics and getting tow trucks, and calling my friend who's a lawyer, talking to my mechanic, like just everything, and finally settling with the dealership with, hey, you guys missed some things. I should have done an inspection. So any of my non-car people, if you're getting a pre-used car, go get your own personal inspection, just for my sake. And they were able to get me in a new car and not increasing in my monthly. So hand of God was absolutely on it, because it was real close to I was just gonna have a total car with a full car loan. That I couldn't do anything with it. So I'm happy that they made it work out. But man, that was nuts. That was my Easter weekend.
Man,
don't get
ahead.
it all crazy. Between starting a church and doing a podcast, Eric's raking the money in. So that's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah.
Church planters are not raking it in. Anyway.
Well, some are, but we won't talk about those this podcast.
Okay. We'll do a series on what's wrong with the church.
Yeah. Well, that'll be really good for you too.
All based on our opinion.
Yeah.
So
we'll call it the Pharisee episode, and,
yeah.
That'd be good.
Pharisees on Pharisees.
That'd be good. Guys, so really quick, I wanted to let you guys know something. So I've been posting stuff on social media since we started, probably 5 out of the 7 days a week I try to post something. And for whatever reason, a couple weeks ago we had one of our videos kind of get a lot of views, over 13,000 views. Well,
crazy.
Weird. A lot of it was like over in India somehow, over in India. And so that's kind of cool. Like people over in India are seeing our mugs, I don't know how I feel about that, but from that, we have almost 1,200 subscribers to our YouTube channel now.
Let's go. Go.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, shout out to our audience and people who are listening to India. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, all the things that Ryan tells us to do.
Yeah. Awesome. So, okay, guys. So you know exactly what it's time for. Eric, turn down your headphones.
What? Getting to know you. Getting to know you. Getting to know you. Getting to know you. Is it getting to know you?
Getting to know you question. Yes. All right, boys. And this is one, not that I came up with. It's not a hypothetical, but it's a question I think can help us know each other a little bit better, but it's one that I stole from social media. Okay. So here it is. If you could go back and meet the 13-year-old version of yourself, like like the knowledge you have now, you could go back and meet your 13-year-old self. You could only say 3 words. What 3 words are you saying? And why are you picking those words?
I'm laughing because of Greg's response, and knowing history of our family. 13-year-old me. Okay, well, so 13-year-old Eric, 2003. Let's see. That's 3 words to 2,000-year-old Eric. I mean, I know it's a little cheesy, but I think if I were to tell any middle schooler, even to myself, is like it gets better kind of thing. I don't know if you remember that campaign, and it was for a whole other purpose, but but I think that's probably just a good message in general to send to any middle schooler of I'm getting ready to send my oldest to middle school. And by the way, okay, this applies to any major life event that is somewhat difficult that everyone or a lot of people go through. Quit sharing that it's going to be bad. So like whenever I tell people that my son's going to middle school and he's standing right next to me, so much of the response is like, yeah, man, those are going to be some tough years, like a lot of bullying and a lot of like they just share their worst experiences. I'm like, or he might have a great time. Like I don't know, like, but now he's going into it like super anxious, like just chill. I remember like whenever my wife got pregnant for the first time with my oldest, and it was only negative stuff. It was like, oh, like your feet's gonna hurt. And it's like, listen, she already knows the negative, and we're only like, can you give us some like positive advice? Like, hey, you got to get this pillow, or hey, can I help you with your registry? Or here's some like, just I don't know, maybe just let's reframe some things. But sorry, tangent. That this young dad is trying to get out. Yeah, it gets better. I in 3 words, I just started getting into comic books when I was that age, so I think I would have been really excited to hear that my favorite comic book superheroes were going to be in movies when I got older. So I don't know how to put that into 3 words, but
that's awesome.
Superhero movie, or can you hyphenate superhero? I don't know.
That's awesome. Greg, what about you?
One, I'll say that it wouldn't matter what I said. I won't listen. So, yeah. So, shower every day. I was a late bloomer, and I remember being in class. I can't remember exactly what class, but I have a picture of when it happened, in which it was right before class, and I was standing there and went, something really smells bad. And I realized it was me. And I don't know that my lifestyle changed. It took a bit. I don't remember when, but so maybe it'd be something close to that. Yeah. So I don't have anything deep. I mean, it would be, if it was like, it's going to be okay or something. I don't know. But again, I would bear if what 80-year-old me showed up today and gave me advice, I'd probably be like, yeah, I agree. Still don't know how to do that. I still, sounds like that involves steps and things. So
yeah. What if he was like, stop eating Doritos? Like just do a very specific
nice
product.
Yeah, something I don't really dig. Yeah, okay. Done, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're still heavy? Dang it.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right, guys. So you guys are better than me, I'll say. Because this is the very first thing that came to mind, and I'm like, I can't think of anything better to say to my 13-year-old self. Now, I would kind of slap myself around, make sure I knew that it was me from the future, right? Like, how do I convince them? I don't know. How do I convince them? I don't know. But I'm gonna make sure he knows, like, I'm from the future. I'm trying to tell you this for your own good. 3 words: invest in Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't know that. Mine, I just thought of this, was invest in Apple, because Apple was starting up. Amazon, not so much, but yeah. Well, wait, not for you. You're 70 years younger than I am. Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, so I mean, but then you get into like the butterfly effect, and if I took that advice and then I started making all this money, how would that change the course of my life? And I'd have a completely different future, and all that. So like,
yeah,
I don't know, but
yeah, reinforce a positive behavior instead of like changing like the future of things.
Yeah.
Like it's probably like and develop discipline, stupid. And like,
No, it
Like if I
probably
showered every day.
yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows?
Well, for me, it probably would be something like stop eating now, or like that kind of thing. Because like
Now.
I just, man, I have a problem now, and so there we go. All right, guys. Well, thanks for humoring me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
It's been good.
It's been a pleasure. So,
Yeah.
all right. So I got the topic today, and we're gonna do our little guessing game. So the first time we tried it, we did 20 questions, and that was not good, too long, and we ended up giving up at like 15 questions or something.
That's right.
And then last time, Greg guessed it in one guess, and so
Yeah. I gave some pretty big hints.
Yeah.
That was on me.
So I'm not giving any hints, and you
Okay.
guys have 7 questions to guess the story today.
Okay. Is it the Old Testament?
No.
Great.
Is it? How can I narrow it down? Sorry. Is Jesus the primary in the story?
Yes.
Great. Is it a miracle?
Yes.
Okay.
3.
Okay. Is the miracle done to a person?
Yes.
Okay. Is the person female?
Yes. That's 5.
Trying to think if there's any others. Is it the issue of blood?
Yes, you got
Let's
it.
go.
You got it. 6 questions. That's good. Good stuff.
I was thinking that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we are diving into Mark chapter 5 and a woman with the issue of bleeding. So before I start reading any scripture, I want to set up the scenario really quickly. So in Mark chapter 5, at the beginning of the chapter, Jesus had just got done exorcising the legion of demons out of the man into the pigs, and the pigs go, they drown themselves in the water, that kind of thing. And the story will get into it some other point. I don't want to
exorcising,
yes,
which are two totally different. Yeah.
What is the exorcising? I don't know what exorcising is.
Exorcising, like you would take the demons and have them work out. And so you would take them out so that they could get fit.
Hack squats, dumbbell press.
So you could exorcise them, remove them to exercise them. And just
Yes. So Jesus just got done doing this, and he gets in a boat and he starts sailing across the Sea of Galilee, and that's where we pick up the story. So Mark chapter 5, starting at verse 21, Jesus got into the boat again and went back to the other side of the lake, where a large crowd gathered around him on the shore. Then a leader of the local synagogue, whose name was Jairus, arrived. And it's Jairus because we know somebody who that's his name, and that's how he says to pronounce it, right? Jay Dunstan, Jairus. Some people say Jairus, and every time I hear that, I'm like, you are wrong, dummy. So Jairus arrived. When he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet, pleading fervently with him. My little daughter is dying, he said. Please come and lay your hands on her. Heal her so she can live. Jesus went with him, and all the people followed, crowding around him. So we have this scenario where Jesus just performed a miracle. He's in a boat, he hits the other side, and there's this large crowd waiting for him, and he's a rock star, it seems, at this point. And somebody comes to him, you got to help me. And so he's trying to push through this crowd to go with this guy. Verse 25, a woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding. She had suffered a great deal from many doctors, and over the years, she had spent everything she had to pay them, but she had gotten no better. In fact, she had gotten worse. So really quick, that's the first weird thing to me that I want to point out. The 12 years of constant bleeding. What's that? What is she bleeding out of her eyes? Like what's going on there, guys?
Yeah, I mean, without it, I guess, like explicitly being said, that it would be something with her cycle, and it being an unending part, some sort of hemorrhage, or that it's just which the part of this then, based off of Jewish customs, that she is then constantly unclean, and so she would be removed from society. So it seems like that's what they're, although again not explicitly said, based off of how people are responding, and that I think that's what it would be. Any other insight?
No, I mean, that's all we're given.
Yeah.
And so it's an assumption, but it seems to be, like Ryan kind of joked, it probably would have said bleeding from her eyes. But the effect is ceremonial separation. There's no, they're also not allowed to have marital connection, sex, that type of intimacy. So it's likely no children, or at least unless she had children beforehand, which we don't have any of those. But the effect is just, it affects every area of her life. So it's not able to just be narrowed down to one area. She obviously can still live and function, but
Yeah. And so that's kind of what I was like getting at. Like it's like it is a medical condition where her menstrual cycle just never stopped. It started one day and it's just been going for 12 years. And there's actually a medical term for it now. It's called menorrhagia. And it just means the menstrual cycle lasts for more than 7 days. And that could mean anything in the medical world, anything from 8 days to months or years, whatever. And so that's what she is. Wow. She is experiencing right now. And like you said, Eric, like this is a big problem because biblical law states that a woman is unclean during the full duration of her menstrual cycle. In Leviticus chapter 15, verse 19, it says, whenever a woman has her menstrual period, she will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days. Anyone who touches her during that time will be unclean until evening. Anything on which the woman lies or sits during the time of her period will be unclean. If any of you touch her bed, you must wash your clothes. So like there's this idea of like she just needs to be completely separate from anyone. But the scenario is there's a huge crowd of people, and now she's getting ready to do some craziness. Verse 29. Not verse 29. Verse 27. She had heard about Jesus. She came up behind him through the crowd and touched his robe. So there, she's pushing through the crowd. Every single person she touches now becomes ceremonially unclean, which is huge deal. Touch his robe, for she thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I will be healed. Immediately the bleeding stopped, and she could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. Jesus realized at once that healing power had gone out from him, so he turned around in the crowd and asked, who touched my robe? That's kind of weird to me. What is that about? Jesus realized at once that healing power had gone out from him. What does that mean?
It's a great question.
I don't know.
Yeah, I outside of
I say that confidently. I don't know because we don't have information. Yeah. Anyway.
I was gonna say what we get is I always it makes me think of like video game terms, where like his health bar went down but that would imply then that there was a limited supply. I think as the Bible talks about, really often God is moved by the faith of his people. So what I would imagine is Jesus is moved by his faith. I think in a similar way that when he goes back to his hometown and can't perform miracles because they only see him for what his on the surface looks like. And so this woman not only believes not just in the healing power of Jesus's attention, but just simply by the clothes he wears are have enough holiness in them to bring healing. And so I think in again, not a perfect answer, nor does it overtly say this. I think, this story is absolutely a story about faith, and that God is moved by our faith in him. And it can move mountains, it can do all sorts of amazing things.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so the way I kind of understand it is that like the power flowed through, not drained from. Like kind of like what you said, like like it's not like his hit points went down, he has to regenerate,
right.
So he just felt the power was flowing through him. So he turned around in the crowd, asked, "Who touched my robe?" His disciples said to him, "Look at this crowd pressing around you. How can you ask who touched me?" But he kept on looking around to see who had done it. Then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, came and fell to her knees in front of him and told him what she had done. So if she had heard about Jesus, why is she afraid? Why is she trembling? What do you think that's about?
There is along with that stuff, it looks like Numbers and Leviticus. I haven't read through the number stuff, but the Leviticus law begins actually with men who have problems. And then it talks about normal, the way it's supposed to work normally, and then it transitions into female, and then female giant problems. And so there's not this is only about women. It's
right.
Anything that this is not the totality of understanding this, but in a very simple way. If you had a community in ancient whatever, and you were among the things you were trying to get to not happen is disease break out in the community that then infects the entire community, you create rules such that diseases that you've noticed can be potential that have the same symptoms might be transmittable, you separate. And so some of the goals with this, not all of it, but some of it is wrapped into that. So trying to get back to the question, there is and coming from this, there is not only, you can't be touched by them, or if you are, if you're taking care of a dead body, the body needs taken care of, that's not bad. It's just that before you go back into interacting with everybody else, you need to get particularly clean. And we think of it as germ theory now. For them, it was separation time, so that whatever you might have got on you needs to be cleaned off. And so it's very easy to look back and go, oh, well, that's stupid, they should have done this. It's certainly it affected how they viewed society and how they viewed interaction with people. But fundamentally, it's hard to criticize when they're among the things is the potential for less disease within a tightly or a closely held community. So, so what would happen is if I had some, let's say, I actually, in fact, do deal with eczema. So let's say I didn't have it treated and it was broken out over my arm and I lived in that time. I am unclean. We know eczema doesn't pass on, but there are skin things that will look like that do pass on. Such as they thought leprosy was a skin thing. And I'm trying to go quick. if I touch you, or if we have contact physically, ceremonially, and so that you can get clean, you're now ceremonially unclean.
Mhm.
So what would happen is that if the woman with the issue of blood, should have happened, is the woman with the issue of blood touches Jesus, he should have become ceremonially unclean. And this is one of the remarkable parts about this miracle. Everything about it's remarkable,
Yeah.
but instead of him being ceremonially unclean, when she touches him, she becomes clean.
Yeah.
This flip is awesome. It's amazing. And so that's cool. So a long version of that. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't have other words.
No, I think there's to the why wouldn't she ask? It's all of that. Like it's that she has enough faith to know that this man Jesus, who claims to be God, and the stories you hear prove that, and he says he is the answer to all the things that have removed you from society. You're taking a massive risk going and invading that. Imagine if he claims to be God, and God cannot be attached to sin, you're going to go and touch your sin onto God. This would be a terrifying thing. Yet in her faith, she still says, I need something that only he can provide. And so there's absolutely much less than even weaving in between a crowd to get to him, that she would then touch her sin to God. It would be a massive implication. She would understand that, because she has been told for the last 12 years how she cannot get even close to the temple without massive amount of work to what it would be, but most likely because she couldn't stop bleeding. I'm thinking even her then trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, because this, again, we don't know if there's an obvious external sign, but I think what we're saying in the story, that it was a cycle issue. It was there wouldn't be an obvious sign like being healed of blindness or being able to walk or anything like that she was healed. She would know, Jesus would know, but the crowd wouldn't know. She would still have the same reputation that she had before. And so there's, again, a trembling of, I know what has happened, but around me no one else does. I'm reading into this a little bit, but I think it's important in humanizing these people that we read about in the Bible. This story is really important, that this was a woman who was facing both emotional and physical illness.
It's also super interesting what I'm glancing through some notes, and first of all, let me recommend a book, Jesus and the Forces of Death. And I'll get the title. I'll say it again in a little bit once I pull it up. But really interesting hitting on this, and is that the stories that are around it. So we move from the demonic stuff that we were joking about, exercise, and then following this is him raising a dead girl. So he's on the way to take care of who Jairus thinks his daughter is alive but sick. Turns out she's dead. So there are three massive categories of death going on here. And these are so that it's in this, to me, fits within the story telling of major issues.
So I was going to ask, and I think what you just said, Greg, kind of leads into that a little bit. What I was going to ask, what are the ramifications of this uncleanness as far as a relationship with God? Because you kind of touched on uncleanness as far as the community goes, but it's bigger than just that. there's this uncleanness component about like your relationship with God, and you can't approach the presence of God. And I mean you, just anybody in this world can't approach God unclean. If the high priest was unclean in the presence of God, he would die, and so like what are the ramifications of this uncleanness as far as that go? Like, could you explain that a little bit for me?
Not in depth. I haven't. It's been a long time since I read that stuff. But generally, it's no access to. If other people can't touch you without becoming unclean, then you'll have some interactions, but they will be because the person knows what they're getting into, or they're people outside of your system who aren't held to those standards. It seems like this woman is Jewish, and so we don't 100% have that locked down, but it seems that way, at least in my read. So no access to temple. You're going to avoid situations like she's in right now, where she would have to care also that whether or not she touches other people, like believe that her touching that might impact them.
So, well, I think like even to now take this story and go, how do we see this in our lives? I mean, I think there's a number of people, we have all experienced this as pastors, where we've had a conversation and someone seems relatively open to the conversation of God in their life, but not open to the conversation of being a part of his church, because church wouldn't know what to do with a person like me. As if our thing is too unclean. There's an understanding, at least in our Western American church, of what Christian morality is, and we immediately categorize ourselves as either in the A category or B category. We're either the holier than thou, or we're the wretch of the world. And I think this is there's so many people in our lives that as we've invited them to church, or we've had conversations at a coffee shop or at a dinner table, whatever it is, and the resistance is, I can't come to Jesus until I've figured all my crap out first. Something that's really powerful in this story is that is the opposite of what Jesus honors. It's actually, even if you don't know how to call it faith at that moment, the fact that you would pass by the mental block of, I've been hurt by church, or I've been told my lifestyle is against this, or my ideologies, or my political opinions and all this stuff, but you would still say, I am confident that the presence of Jesus is in this location because at least I've been told that. And so to take that step. So us as Christians, we get to do the thing, not what the disciples did, which is go look around and go, who was it? But do what Jesus did and go, I know exactly who it is. I can see the person that needs help. And I'm not going to rebuke them for coming here unclean. In fact, we're in the work of, let's make them clean. Let's give them redemption. Let's do the reconciliation work.
Yeah. In talking about this, connecting dots between Leviticus and here, I once heard Dr. Eric Smith talk about Leviticus, and the whole theme of Leviticus is how can a holy God be near an unholy people? And it's all about, that's what Leviticus is about.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to, like, God set up all these parameters that this is how we do it. This is how you stay clean. This is how I can be near you, all that stuff. And I think what we're seeing here is Jesus is removing all those barriers. Mm-hmm. Jesus, as the embodiment of Yahweh God, is removing any barriers that might keep us from getting to him. And so I love that, like, just even that little kind of idea. As I was preparing for this, I wrote down, I think a theme is that in a world where uncleanness seemingly is greater than cleanness, Jesus Jesus, he makes unclean things clean again.
Mhm.
You know, which is not a normal thing, right? Like if you look at Leviticus again, all the Levitical law, it's like, how do we get clean again? We got to sacrifice blood. That's what, you know. But there's all sorts of things that can make anything unclean, but blood is the only thing that can make. But Jesus is showing, like, through the power of the Spirit, he makes things clean when he touches unclean things, not the other way around, you know. And so I think that's a huge deal in this story. And so
and I would say, even for the people, maybe you're hearing this, and clean versus unclean is still a kind of a confusing statement. Just go death to life. Like bring it even to its base sense of what was unclean leading to. It was leading to death. That's it. So what was God trying to prevent in his people? He was trying to give them the ideal life that he designed, yet we are consistently choosing death over and over and over again. And so instead of us being reliant on us trying to figure that out on our own, he sends the example of life, which is him and his son Jesus, to show us that. And so his very presence gives life, but his ways show us how to live life. And so one of my I think you're probably about to get into it, but one of my favorite lines is Jesus's last line to her.
Yeah. I am going to get into it in just a minute. But Greg, did you have any other thoughts before I continue?
Mostly that we are the things we're trying to very briefly answer are interesting to dive into. And again, it's this particular book, and there's tons, but this one kind of really hits on it. Jesus and the Forces of Death by Matthew Thiessen is just a really good thing. It hits on, it clarifies some of what Eric just talked about, that the movement from category of death to a category of life is so it is just remarkable. It speaks to certainly the physical need that this woman had, but also the ongoing message about the kingdom and our need to be moved from a category, every person's need to be moved away from death, set free from sin, slavery to it, and brought into a category of life. So this is what I believe is literal. I think it happened, but also a great story that we can see as a metaphor. Also, primarily, it's a story of salvation for this woman.
Yes.
Secondarily, it is a story of salvation that we get to read about and see. This is the type of life that Jesus brings.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. There's something I want to ask you guys about that I think many people just kind of overlook, because it just kind of feels random, or maybe just kind of like doesn't seem like there's some meaning to it. But I think there's meaning to this. Verse 28, for she thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I'll be healed. What made her think that? What do you guys think about that? Like, what if I can just touch his robe? Well, why not if I can just grab his hand, or if I can just grab his ankle? Why his clothes? Like, why his robe? What do you guys think that's about?
It may be impossible. I don't know. It's possible she was actually even thinking, I'm not going to try. I don't want to make him unclean. Maybe just his robe. I don't know. So yeah, I think beginning with, I don't know, if I was going to answer it, I'd start researching into it more. And yeah, I think there's first read, absolutely. Like, what's the minimum amount of contact that I could get what I need, and also not cause harm to him, even if the harm is just a temporary removal until he becomes clean. And so and then I also like the story of even the very clothes that Jesus wore, or because of their connection to him, had power.
and it means something that even just being in his presence did something, much less getting to touch something that touched him. I again don't read into the transitive property of healings into, because I think some of what we saw in revival ministries, televangelists and different things like that, of prayer cloths and things like that, where we pray over and send it to you and it's suddenly imbued with a supernatural power to it. And we could take this story and start messing around with that and adding things, when I all I want to speak to is just the power of Jesus, that even the touching of what he wore did something significant. But it has nothing to do with the clothes. But yeah.
That's good.
There's some great sentences here. This woman this woman did not seek the abolishment of the ritual purity system. Rather, she sought the destruction of a disease that consigned her to a life of long-term impurity. And then another great one is the woman overcomes her fear in this, and she's convinced that whatever power resides in Jesus is a force more potent than the condition that has plagued her for a dozen years.
Wow.
Those are great.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I want to connect some more dots here, and I'm not saying like this is exactly it, but I'm like, what if possibly this is what's going on?
Sure.
So in Numbers chapter 15, verse 37 through 40, it says this: Then the Lord said to Moses, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel." So to all the people, throughout the generations to come, you must make tassels for the hems of your clothes and attach them with a blue cord. When you see the tassels, you will remember and obey all the commands of the Lord, instead of following your own desires and defiling yourselves as you're prone to do. The tassels are to help you remember you must obey all the commands and to be holy to your God. So I'm actually introducing props now. So I'm wearing a Jewish prayer shawl, and this is what this is talking about, and this is what every law-abiding Jew would wear. And the tassels are blue at the four corners of the shawl, and every again law-abiding Jew would be wearing them, including Jesus. And the you attach them at the corner of the hem of your clothing, the corner of your clothing, right? And so that word hem or corner is kanaf in Hebrew. The word kanaf also has another meaning. It means wings. And so that connecting that dot to this found in Malachi chapter 4. It says, verse 2, it says this: "But for you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in his wings," healing in his kanaf, healing in the hem.
Yeah, cool.
Which that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Like if that's what's going on, I'm like, oh, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And that verse says like, "And you will go free, leaping with joy like calves led out to pasture," you know. And so like, is it possible that that's what that means? And if like, what are you guys' thoughts on that? First of all,
I mean, I love the dive into it, and anytime we can look at a prophetic book and see actions or things that link that to that, and we get to see Jesus truly being the example of the Savior that these prophets were speaking to. Man, what a powerful thing. And I love how God ordains what seemed like mundane or repetitive acts, and then redeems them through the work of Jesus. And so something that feels very, litigious, as far as like, you got to put this many things and do this and wear it at all times, that his omniscience to be able to see, and in his Son being the fulfilled work of why that existed. I love that type of stuff.
it'd be interesting if it was a practice, if that particular thing symbolically, I don't know. It's not my area, but if that prayer shawl represented word or commandments or what it totally represented. And if there was a practice of people toward maybe revered rabbis and stuff of touching their garments also, I don't know. If you're a listener, then these are the questions that pop in my head, and then I start doing research, and inevitably I'll get 6 things that don't answer anything close, 2 things that answer totally, yeah, that's totally it. I tend to be skeptical of the people are absolutely locked down on something, that this is absolutely this symbol and everything else. That doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong, so it leads me to keep studying. And if they're really excited about it, then I'll look into what they're referencing. Often they don't reference anything, so I go, I'm not listening to you. But if they do reference stuff, I kind of that's sometimes my doom scrolling is diving into these things where I'm like, oh, this thing links to this, and now I'm looking. But what I'm looking for are people that are quoting other people. They're being open and transparent about who they're quoting and why they're quoting. Some of that rating is dry, but if I can, I know that I can make it interesting, or that at least I want the information. So anyway, little side note on how I think through things. So this would be one of those that I go, I wonder if that was a thing, or if anyone's ever talked about that. So, and then I would say, even if I find out that, oh, this was a thing, the best I can say in this particular case is, hey, this was a thing. It's possible that this is what she's doing. So rather than lock it down and this is all that the story isn't going that way, it's interesting trivia that can come along, and you can kind of teach, hey, this also was happening, so it's possible. But fundamentally, this switch from life to death, never lose that. When you're never lose the heart of the story when you're going down these really positive rabbit holes, and don't allow the I don't know, stay on solid ground.
Well, let it point to Jesus, not yourself. You know, it's you can if then your way into anything. Well, if this happened, then this would make this do something. And so if it meant the same of what happened to Jesus, then it could still happen for me. And you've missed the point of the story. And you missed the point of the example that Ryan brought up. It wasn't now everyone should go buy prayer shawls. If you want one, get one, and get it for the reason of why they were brought in, and why people who follow the Jewish faith would still use them. Get it for that reason. And if you have that, and then God does something to you, through you, for you, great. But you know, I would just there's and we'll talk about this as we keep doing miracles and other miraculous actions that happen in the Bible. And there's a real temptation to turn our faith into sorcery, where we conjure and move God not by our faith, but by our actions, by what we would somehow call wisdom or understanding that actually blocks true wisdom and understanding. So enjoy the symbols that God gives, and let them be that. And then if he does something through that, what a blessing.
Yeah. And I would also add, like, if what I just kind of went through is what's going on, there's only one Son of Righteousness.
Amen.
And and healing is found in his wings. Right. Like, so for me to try to replicate this by buying a prayer shawl, like, that's called divination, and that is not of God. So so anyways, okay, so now to get to the final verse, verse 34, and he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over. So here's a question I I came up with that I've been kind of mulling over, and this question is kind of contingent on these other things, right? Like these other things being the case. Okay. And so just kind of, humor me there, right? So if this is true, right, like the Malachi chapter 4 verse 2, it's pointing to Jesus and the healing in his wings, all that. He says, daughter, your faith has made you well, go in peace. That word faith in the Greek is pistis, and it's defined as conviction of the truth of anything, belief, conviction or belief, the conviction that God exists, strong and welcome conviction or belief that Jesus is the Messiah. So it's belief with the predominant idea of trust. So I think the word faith here is interchangeable with belief. So daughter, your faith has made you well. Daughter, your belief has made you well. I would ask, her belief in what?
And actually push gently against that. So again, now we'll fulfill Natalie's thing again. It's not that it's not belief. I like the word, if we're looking for an English word, I like trust. I think belief is assumed. Whatever faith is, belief is assumed. We go, and it is translated as belief a number of times. But when you're looking in, I want to say it's Romans, what Abraham had, and it's quoting Old Testament. But it wasn't just that Abraham believed in or believed in God or believed that God was going to do something. He just believed God. Is the concept here, and it's trust that is developed through experience. It's trust, regardless of how that experience happens. For us, our trust is developed through experiencing His Word, experiencing prayer, experiencing community. Our trust is harmed in the same way. Some of us are more likely to allow the build of trust. Some of us are proud, even to the degree of saying, look, trust is something you earn and it's easily lost and stuff. And honestly, that strikes me as a very difficult way for someone to live. I would encourage, if I were giving life advice, I'd encourage to try to trust. It's not be stupid. If you have people running stop signs around you, then pause and really look around. Like you're raising your children. Where we're like, you got to look both ways, and it's still a good practice. If you're going to cross the street, I guarantee you guys both look both ways.
Yeah,
you learned it when you were 4. So trust. I just think it's the same thing. Translate over time. It's always been translated as faith. What is faith? And scripturally, it's evidence of things hoped for, the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things unseen. And you go, that's fun to preach about. It really is. I love it. It's difficult to go, well, I'm not sure what you just said. So when I'm trying to communicate how faith is built, because that's also what we're trying. It's not just try harder. It's get to know Him more. If you don't know Him, you probably shouldn't trust Him. I don't care who it is. So anyway.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think the looking at the belief, trust, it's your faith that has healed you. And going to like the Hebrews 11 definition of it, but I was just pulling it up. Sometimes I just like reading the Message version, even though it strays away from as literal translation as we can get. But whenever in verse 2 of Hebrews 11, how they interpret it is as the act of faith is what distinguished our ancestors, set them above the crowd. And so I would say the concept of belief and that being connected to your faith is really important, and the trust aspect of it would say that your actions are going to be fulfilled upon. And so when I talk about faith in our church, I always try to use this example of when you sat down on the chair, or for anybody listening, you're sitting in your car and you sat in the seat. You did not have a moment in your head of whether or not it was going to be a seat. If it was going to do what all other seats have done previously. And so there's a belief that you can sit in a seat, and then there's a trust that this seat is going to continue to be like all other seats that you've experienced. And then when you apply the action of sitting down, your hope and your trust is fulfilled through the action that then becomes the fruition of all the faith. What shakes us is then when we do all those actions and then the chair breaks from underneath us. This is the reality of the world that we live in, is that you need to live in anticipation that things are not going to break. Things are not going to be chaotic, yet they will. And the one seat is the one thing that will never break, is the throne of God. That is never going to crack underneath you. And so you can be at that spot and you can have absolute faith in him. And so that absolute belief, that absolute trust, and then your action will be fulfilled because of what he has done and will continue to do again. So I think I love the author in Mark says it was not Jesus who healed her. Yeah. But it was her faith. It was her belief. She had heard the stories. I believe this is going to be true. I trust then that despite all sense of doubt that this is going to be what it is, and then I followed through on the action. It wasn't just enough. I believe in altar calls because it makes you get out of your seat and move. You need to put an action to the thing in which you are choosing to believe and choosing to trust in. And it's in that act of faith that I think God moves, not because he was holding back, because you were holding back. And he's going to bring about that redemption.
So it's all these words. It's all and words are symbols for concepts, to be weird about it. And it's all these concepts. They're all coming together into this idea of faith, and they are not unique. Jesus is unique. We do this with everything every day, as Erica's pointing out. How it's developed, if you want to get deep, how trauma influences it. You burn a child from an oven early on, it's more of a struggle to maybe get them comfortable with that. But once they learn that they change how the story went and understand it in more detail, they get it. But anyway, faith is these things, and her faith healed her. She believed and acted on it. And there you go.
Yeah. Back in the old days of your podcast, Greg, you had a episode about faith, and you talked about belief in is different than belief that. And one, I love that distinction. And you say it a lot, and you said it in that episode, words matter, and it really does. And I think there's a really important, in my opinion, there's a really important lesson we can learn from this woman. Like we learned from Jesus in this story, death to life, right? Like he takes dead things and he brings them to life. He makes unclean things clean again. But the lesson I think we can learn from this woman is two things. She knew the word of God. Like she knew it. If this Malachi thing is true, right? Like she knew it. She knew what it said. She had it memorized. But not only did she know it, she trusted it. She trusted the words of God. She trusted that God is who he says he is, and he's going to do everything he said he would do. And I think that is what we need to fall back on when we go through these own issues in our life. Maybe it's not the issue of bleeding, but maybe it's my spouse is going to divorce me, or maybe it's I'm losing my job, or whatever the issue is. Like, we have to remember what God's word says, and we have to trust that he is faithful, and he's going to do everything he said he would do. So I think that's a really important lesson to take from this as well.
I like just for the sake of continuing on this last verse, my favorite words in this is "go in peace."
Love it.
And yes, this is a story about salvation. If you read a lot of the other stories of Jesus doing a miraculous healing, it is "go and sin no more." Go tell other people. And his command to this woman who hasn't known peace in 12 years is not to become an evangelist. Is go in peace now. Your suffering's over. And what a beautiful thing that our God can provide for us. I there's a whole sermon that my wife and I put together one time about how to live unhurried, and Jesus in the middle of him, being taken to go, heal a dying girl. He is unhurried even in that, and stops. And then his call to her is not like, okay, hey, thanks guys, we got to get going. Like, like it's, hey, daughter, go in peace. Be like me. I'm unhurried. I am at peace, and go in peace now.
I love it. Even when they get to the dead girl, right? He's still doing that. They're like, oh no, just let him go. Let the teacher go. And he's like,
everyone leave.
Just believe. We're okay. Just believe.
Yeah. And so like this has me asking, like, what if we actually believed God, right? Like, what if we actually started believing God and stopped trying to fix things ourselves, or stop, like, what if our first response to tragedy or opposition or whatever, what if our first response was to, man, if I could just get in his presence, instead of like, okay, and how do I fix this? How do I make it better? How do I retribution, all that, like, how do I make it right? How do I make it right? What if our first response was, man, if I could just get in his presence, and so like, I just want to encourage anybody who might be listening, like, like, you don't have to make it better. I mean, there's elements of responsibility, right? I'm not saying like disregard all responsibility, but like, man, like, let's go to the Son of Righteousness first. Let's go to the one in whom we get all our answers first, and let's fall at his feet, and let's just believe that he is who he says he is. He's going to do everything he said he would do.
So great. Yeah, I'm stealing from my own sermons right now, but I said a couple weeks ago, my goal, and what I would encourage anybody's goal, is that when they open up that letter and it's a bill that you were not expecting, to go from saying, oh no, to if we can get to that place of confidence, of faith in God, that yes, you would still feel the anxiety and worry and the pain, the potential suffering, that something unexpected, even expected things would happen. And instead of the panic of, oh no, which usually comes from, who's going to help me? How am I going to solve this problem? And you went, actually, I probably can't. So God, you know what I'm going through. And I need you to do what only you can do. So
yeah, that's good. Good. Well, guys, that's all I have.
You did it.
That's all I have. Like,
that's a great one.
Oh, I'm glad that's over.
This is a good one, Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the conversation, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's get out of here. If you're enjoying the Odd Testament podcast, we would love your support. And the best way to help us to keep bringing all this awesome content your way,
fight on the moon.
Yes, with somebody my exact size and weight. Show us some love, and here's some ways you can do that. First, take a moment to rate and review us on whatever platform you're watching. If you're on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you're on, take some time to rate and review us, please. 5 stars only. No, nothing less. We say it almost every time. If it's a 1-star, tell us in the reviews why it's a 1-star, but give us a 5-star. That'll just help us. Whether or not you want to help us, that's between you and the Lord. But rate and review us. next, don't forget to subscribe, subscribe, share, comment, all those good stuff, all those good things. Again, that helps push our content out so that more and more people can see it. And then finally, follow us on social media for updates. Maybe, I keep saying this, behind the scenes content one day. I'm just kind of trying to plant the seed with you guys. Okay. And then, yeah, you'll stay up to date on our newest episodes. Our new episodes drop every Monday. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, guys, do you have anything else before we say goodbye?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thanks for listening.
All right.
Same. I want something, but I got nothing. Nothing's popping in my head. So
Tupac out.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
I'm Greg. Bye.
Bye.